Lucas Middleton, thank you for a $5 super chat. Does the new QX7 Access have the same external module bay inverter problem as the older one? No, it does not. The Access QX7 does not need the inverter mod done when used with high-speed modules. What would your best tiny whoop be with a Caddx Vista? Thank you for Wyatt Denbo for a $5 super chat. I just mentioned that my favorite bind and fly was the Flywoo Baby Nano 2S, the 2-inch version. There is a naked Vista version of that they may even still sell that I thought was really great. It's not quite a whoop. I think it's an 85. It's 2-inch, whatever 85 2 inches is. But it's pretty good. Favorite 5-inch bind and fly, Bro Wild. Bro Wild, at any given time, I could give a different answer to this. In the past, I have really liked the iFlight Evoke. Or not the Evoke, the iFlight Nazgul. Ever since iFlight moved to the Evoke with their ultra-thin body and their side plates with LEDs and 20 millimeter ESC, and it just doesn't feel as maintainable to me. It doesn't feel like a hobby built drone. It feels like a commercial product, and that's what they're going for. But it's a great bind and fly. But like, if I were to think, what is my like favorite? I just pick one, Bardwell. That wouldn't be the one I would pick. If it was like 3 years ago, I might have picked the Nazgul as a really excellent one, especially at the price. By the way, you can still get, correct me if I'm wrong, not the Evoke, the Nazgul V3. You can still get the Nazgul V3 for $270, which is a real freaking steal these days. I know it hurts to pay $279 for an analog bind and fly when they used to be like $180. But it is what it is. We live in the world we live in. So, but I'm going to pick as my favorite these days, the GepRC Mark V. Really well made. I think in some ways GepRC deserves more credit than they get for making really good bind and fly quads. Really well made. Interesting design. A little bit of innovation in the design. Nice looking. Still relatively like simple and feels like a hobby drone in terms of how it's built and how you would maintain it. 2160, what are the motors? 21. It's a novel motor size as well, but I tested them and they flew really well. Show me the motor size. $2107. There you go. 2107.5. So a little bit of a different motor size, but it was very nice. I picked the GepRC Mark V if I have to pick one. Cinecon, do you think the new Skyo 4X Pro competes with the HD0 goggles for people who already have some digital receiver module? Thank you for $5, Cinecon. Hard to say since the goggles, I haven't really tested them. If we take them at face value, and SkyZone does know how to make a good goggle, so maybe it's fair to take them at face value. The thing that the Skyo 4X Pro will be missing is if you fly HD0, it cannot do the 90 FPS mode because the HD0 standalone receiver doesn't output 90 FPS. It only outputs 60 FPS. It can receive the signal from a 90 FPS camera, but it's only supposed to be for spectating, not for actual flying. That's straight from HD0 and from Ryan Quellet. If you have HD0 and you want to fly HD0, you should get the HD0 goggles. I don't think that there's really any question about that. If you're thinking about walk snail, then on paper the Skyo 4X Pro can be used with the walk snail goggles or with the walk snail standalone receiver and give you the performance of the walk snail system, and it'll have a little higher latency on the HDMI input, but hopefully not that much latency. Again, we would have to test the goggles to know what the latency is going to be. King Roactive says, what's your opinion on ceramic antennas? Ceramic antennas, I think, I roughly assume that a ceramic antenna is about 6 dB worse than an external antenna. The actual number depends on where the antenna is mounted. If it's mounted like inside a carbon fiber frame, it's going to be worse. If it's mounted on like a tiny whoop, it's probably not that much difference because, you know, it's all plastic anyway. So what you can do is if you are running it, let's say you're running at 250 hertz. If you have like a 1 watt module and you're willing to go down from 250 hertz to like 100 hertz, then I feel like you're going to make up most of that difference or all of that difference. So, if you're going to use a ceramic antenna, I still think you can get pretty decent range and penetration even at 250 hertz if you have a 1 watt module. So that would be my recommendation. Do the AG01 gimbals for the Radiomaster TX16S fit the Boxer? Thank you for $5, 907 FP. Yes, they do. That's the answer. Simple. Easy. Hi, JB. Is a Walksnail VTX with SMA pigtail a good idea? And if so, which antennas do you recommend? Thanks for €5. M4 Trixable. It's not, I mean, it's a fine idea. That SMA connector is going to add a little bit of loss, but you know, you take that, for what it is. And you'll get the easy ability to swap the antenna, and if the antenna is damaged, the VTX won't be damaged if you go with an SMA pigtail. In my experience, I usually prefer to have UFL antennas mounted with a 3D print because I think you can mount the antenna a little more securely and protect the antenna a little better. But I've gone both ways. It certainly is easier to just mount an SMA connector on the frame and then screw an antenna on and not have to dick around with a custom-made 3D print just for this one freaking antenna. And then if you ever change the antenna, you have to make a new 3D print. So there are pros and cons both ways. As far as antennas, yeah, Blinty.
Just a reminder, SMA pigtail quality varies wildly. If you buy an Amazon SMA pigtail, it could be total garbage, and it could be halving your range in just like 6 inches to 8 inches of SMA pigtail. So make sure you've tested multiple pigtails. Maybe buy a batch. Maybe buy them from a reputable source if you do use them, just so you know.
I mean, maybe buy the Immersion RC power meter, which, although it's not like a high-grade piece of lab equipment, is accurate enough that you could weed out a bad SMA cable. Just hook it up to your VTX, blow a fan on your VTX so the output power is consistent, and then put the different cables on. And if there's a bad one, you'll get like a grossly different result. Anyhow, I forgot about this power meter, this old power meter from way back when. I forgot about that. Wow. Anyway, the RF Power Meter V2, well worth having. As far as which antenna to get, I'm going to suggest that we go to my website, fpvknowitall.com, and we'll go to antennas, and there are suggested antennas here. And these are some antennas that you could choose.